I'm going to Cleveland, Ohio to watch the Packers versus the Browns on Sunday, and I'm coming back to make my Monday morning class. Let me explain. But before I do that, let's go. I got a game to get to. And that's how this story begins. So, with that, I packed my bags, grabbed my water bottle, said goodbye to my roommate, got into my car, and took a deep breath because I truly had no idea what was in store for this trip. But nonetheless, I had a long drive ahead of me, so I began my journey, starting with the very rural northeast part of Mississippi, which I have to say was actually very picturesque. I've never been to this part of the state before, so I was pretty surprised by how scenic it was, as well as southern Tennessee. And fun fact for you, this part is so rural, I actually didn't hit an interstate until about 2.5 hours into the drive, which was kind of weird for me. I've always lived kind of near an interstate, so it was definitely interesting, this first part of the drive. It was really, really beautiful. I drove for about 5 hours and made a stop in White House, Tennessee, because I had to get some gas and also I had to pee really bad. So I stopped at a Love's. I decided not to get anything to eat here because I ate right before I left the apartment, and also I saw a billboard for a little something that, that made me want to wait a little bit to eat, so I continued on my journey. Also, I forgot to mention I ran into a little speed bump. I got a pop-up on my car that said maintenance was due soon, and then I looked at my oil life and it was at 15%. I was like, yeah, I should probably take care of that since I'm going to drive 1,500 more miles. The next bigger city that I was going to run through was Bowling Green, Kentucky, so I looked for an oil change place, saw that there was a Valvoline, and then I stopped there. So since I'm sitting here waiting for my oil change, let me give you guys the game plan. So I go to Mississippi State in Starkville, Mississippi. So my plan is today, Saturday, September 20th, to drive all the way up to Cleveland, stay the night at an Airbnb. By the way, stay tuned for that. I think you guys are going to like it. And then wake up, go to the game tomorrow, and then right after the game, drive all the way back home in time to make my Monday morning 10 a.m. class. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, why? Which is a good concern. So, my dad and I have this upstanding goal to go to every NFL stadium. We've been to quite a few. And every year for the past 2 or 3 years, whenever the NFL schedule drops, we look at games that we can go to place and then come back either in the same day or within a couple days. That way, I don't have to miss school and he doesn't have to miss too much work. And we looked at this game when the schedule dropped this year because obviously me and him are both big Packers fans. We hadn't been to Cleveland Stadium yet, so we were like, yeah, it works. So we were like, okay. We looked at it and we were like, okay, let's keep that, hold on to that, put it in our pocket. Fast forward to a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I'm closer to Cleveland now than I was back at home because I'm in Starkville. I was like, you know what? Let's see how far of a drive it is. And I looked it up in 12 hours. I was like, I feel like this is feasible. So I thought about it a little bit more. I was like, this is a really stupid idea. So that's exactly why I should do it. So I was like, yeah, I'm going no matter what. I asked my dad what he was doing, and it turns out he's actually taking one of my other friends to SoFi, which is really funny. He's been dying to go back to SoFi. We went probably 3 years ago, right when it opened up pretty much, and he's been wanting to go back. He's taking one of my friends, so that's really awesome. I was like, okay. So I asked my roommate, he couldn't go, and then I asked a couple of my other friends, they couldn't go. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go by myself. I was against it at first, but I was like, you know what? I feel like this could be fun. And especially if I vlog it, I think that'll be really fun. So exactly what I'm doing. Also, stay tuned because at the end of the video, I'm going to be going over stats, like how many miles I drove and how much time I was in the car. And I'm also going to be doing a review of the stadium and the food inside the stadium, the tailgating and the fans and stuff like that. So definitely stay tuned for that. Also, money is a big one. I'm going to keep track of how much money I've spent throughout this trip and then total it up at the end of the video so that way you guys kind of get an idea of it. One of the main goals of this video is to show you guys that you can travel and go and do something cool in a whole new place for pretty cheap. I think the cost of this trip will really surprise you because it's honestly not very much. But yeah, anyway, I think that's all I needed to say. I'll see y'all once I get my oil changed, and we'll be back on the road. So I got my oil changed, took about an hour, and just like that, I was back on the road again. Oh yeah, remember that billboard that I said that I saw earlier? It was a Buc-ee's. They have Buc-ee's in Kentucky? I didn't even know. So naturally, I had to stop at Buc-ee's. I mean, you gotta. And it was a cool Buc-ee's. You could definitely tell it was new just based on looking at the condition of a lot of stuff. And of course, it was bumping with people. I was kind of in a hurry because I didn't want to get to the Airbnb too late. So I walked in, grabbed one thing, and then I walked out pretty much. I got myself a Southwest turkey wrap because they are fantastic. And the lady at the checkout desk even gave me some napkins, which was really nice. And with that, I was on the road again. I drove for about another 5 hours until I got to Mansfield, Ohio, where I stopped at another, you guessed it, Love's. At this point, I was very hungry, so I decided to stop and get some Don Dons to hold me over for the night. I got a 2-cheeseburger meal with a Sprite, and it was fantastic. And at this point, I only had about an hour left of the drive, so I made it to my Airbnb. I pulled into the driveway. I didn't film the outside for obvious reasons. Got to the door, and my host greeted me. She told me the ground rules and what all was included and showed me around the house. She was super nice, by the way. And after that, I explored the room. All right, I gotta be kind of quiet here, but I have made it to the Airbnb. It is awesome in here. Look, hold on. Let me start at the beginning of the room. So there's the bed. Look, there's a cat. It came with a cat. So there's one bed right here. And then there's also like a queen bed right here. Nice little desk right here. It's got a TV as well. Look at this adorable little gal. And then this scared the crap out of me because I didn't. I thought I was in someone else's room. I was like, who is that? But it's just a mirror. This is a really, really nice room. I'm not gonna lie. The reason I have to be quiet though is because you actually share this house with other guests. Like it's not just me in here. I'm in one room of like 3 or 4. So there are other people that are sleeping. So I got to be kind of quiet. This is a very nice room, especially for the price that I got it for. Which stick around to the end of the video to find out exactly how much I paid for it. I think it'll shock you. I'm really surprised. This is really, really nice. All right, well, I just drove 12 hours, so I'm kind of exhausted. I'm probably going to go to sleep. So the next clip that you see will be me on game day. It's a great day for Packers football, baby. Game day was finally upon us. So with that, I said goodbye to the Airbnb and started on my way to Huntington Bank Field. Now, one thing I will say in preparation for the game, I didn't buy a parking pass, so I was a little bit concerned about where I was going to have to park and how much it would be, but let's just see. All right, I made it to my parking spot. I was a little worried about it, but I think we're good. I'm not too far from the stadium, but I'm pretty close. So start making our way there. So with that, I made my way toward the stadium with all the other Packers and Browns fans that were out and about. Now, because I got there a couple hours early, I did want to check out the tailgating scene. So I walked down this one little parking lot where there were a couple people tailgating. I didn't really know what to expect just because the Browns kind of suck. But man, there were a lot of people tailgating. There's a lot of neat stuff around the stadium, so I just kind of walked around for a little bit. And also, because you're right on Lake Erie, there were these people in boats like having little parties. It was funny. I decided I'd seen enough tailgating and I decided to walk around the stadium. And just like that, I was in. Now, what I like to do when I go to a new stadium is go find my seat first and then go around and explore. So that's exactly what I did. I made my way up toward my seat. I took a nice long look.
All right, I've made it to my seat. It's currently about an hour before kickoff. I'm going to sit here and chill for a second, and then I'm going to go explore.
Yeah, I gotta say, the view from up here was absolutely fantastic. I personally like sitting up high just because I'm able to actually see everything that's going on. It might be harder to see, but I mean, at least I have like a view of everything. I did run into a little problem here though. So there's only one escalator that goes up to the top level and it only goes one direction. So after the third quarter, it reverses and goes down. But for now, I couldn't use the escalator. And really the only way back down was to go all the way back down the ramp again, which was just gonna take a while. And I was like, I don't really want to do that. I just walked up. I don't really want to walk back down. I mean, there were elevators up there, but using an elevator in any kind of stadium is just such a yikes. So I decided to stay up on the top level and get some food and then just head back to my seat. I got some chicken tenders and fries like you see here. And look, they had 3 little sauce things built into the thing. I gotta hand it to their concessions. It was really efficient. The chicken tenders, the line that I got that out of, literally it was like a grab and go system. You just like grabbed it and you know, the cooks were like constantly put more and more out there. And if you wanted a drink, you just grabbed it. You went to a self-checkout station. They had people there watching you and then you checked out. And I was in and out of line in like 2 minutes. That's the first time I've ever seen that in an NFL stadium. It was really, really nice. And also the sauces, like you can see here, they had like, in addition to ketchup and mustard and, you know, all the regular sauces, they had like barbecue sauce and ranch and like hot honey sauce. They had like a chipotle sauce. I was really surprised, to be totally honest with you. I didn't get a souvenir cup from that line because they didn't have them. So I had to go to a different line and get that souvenir cup. I got Dr. Pepper. And I will go ahead and tell you the price of the food. The chicken tenders and fries were $17 and I think the souvenir cup was $9. So pretty pricey, but I mean, it's an NFL stadium. I wasn't expecting anything less. And to my surprise, both the hot honey and the barbecue sauce were both good. I don't know, I wasn't expecting much. I don't know anything about Cleveland cuisine, like, at all. I just figured they didn't have any. So I was really surprised by the variation that they had in the concessions. Like, they had a pulled pork sandwich, and they had a coleslaw hot dog, and they had like a honey barbecue chicken sandwich. I remember I saw at one of the places. It was really, really nice. Good job, Cleveland. And with that, it was time for the game to start. I gotta say, all the Browns fans around me were super funny, because it's like they had this sort of delusional optimism, but they knew, like, yeah, we're probably going to lose this game. All the fans around me were super nice. It was mostly Browns fans. I was honestly surprised. Like, normally a lot of the away games I go to, it's pretty heavy amount of Packers fans. There were still a good bit of Browns fans. I just figured there wouldn't be since they're not that good, but I think Cleveland's a pretty loyal fan base, especially looking back after this game. But anyway, the game started and we elected to defer, which means we put our defense out on the field first, and defense was the key thing to this game. First quarter, nothing super interesting happens. It was a defensive battle. End of the first. However, at the end of the first quarter, the Packers did put together a nice drive, and they kicked a field goal to make it 3-0 in the second quarter. Yeah, and the Browns were just not able to do anything offensively in the first half.
3-0 at the half. It's been a very ugly game offensively so far. Defenses have ruled the day, which I figured would happen. Packers have given up 4 sacks so far.
And then at halftime, the University of Ohio band came out to play. They were pretty cool. And then we got back to more football action. This is about what sums up the game. It was just punt and really ugly offensive football. We actually did eventually manage to score a touchdown, so that's cool.
End of the third quarter. 10-0. This just does not look good still.
And just a little before the third quarter ended, it actually did start to rain a little bit. You can kind of see it here, which I was a little bit worried about, but luckily I was under a little canopy because I was so high up, so I didn't get rained on at all. It stopped after like 10 minutes. And unfortunately, I think this rain was a sign that things were about to make a turn for the worst for the Green Bay Packers.
Browns are in scoring position.
Now, right there, we actually did manage to hold them to a field goal, but then what happened next was absolutely disastrous.
Browns just picked it off. I want to cry.
However, the next drive, we did push down the field, and we actually ended up getting inside the 30-yard line.
Packers are inside the 25. We just need to run it and kick a field goal, and we should win this game.
Oh, I wish I could have known how wrong I was.
Update, the Packers just fumbled at the 25-yard line. They're reviewing it to see if Cleveland made a clear recovery. I'm going to throw up. Call was upheld. I don't think the Browns made a clear recovery. It's third down right now. We just need to kick a field goal. It's going to be about a 43-yarder. Cleveland just blocked the kick. Browns have a chance to win it. It's going to be about a 55-yarder. Man, this is bad.
Man, I gotta say, I just don't think that game could have gone any worse. And so the Packers lost to the Cleveland Browns. I hung my head in defeat, even with all the help of the Browns fans around me trying to console me. But no matter, I still had a stadium to explore, and I was excited to see it. So I went down to the mezzanine section first, and honestly, pretty good view from here. I was in the corner, as you can see. Stadium's pretty much empty at this point. And then I went down to the lower bowl section, kind of walking towards the corner of the end zone again. And these are also really good seats. They had a little mini Hall of Fame right here, which is pretty cool. There's the self-checkout. You don't have to not believe me. And then they had this little mini pro shop right here. We'll see a bigger pro shop later. A little spoiler there. I went into the dog pound. I'm in the dog pound. That's pretty cool. They also had these little player banners that were kind of hung around the lower bowl, and I didn't really know who any of them were. And then I went to the actual pro shop, which was honestly a lot bigger than I would have thought. It stretched pretty far. I looked around a little bit. I didn't do too much. I just kind of went in and then went back out. And with that, it was time for me to leave. I left a little bit defeated, but still very satisfied with how cool this experience was. Now, when I got to the car, I recorded my reaction to the game, and I was going to include it in this video, but I just don't feel like it belongs, so I might make a separate video about, my thoughts on the game, but for now, I'm going to leave it out. It took me forever to get out of the parking garage and just downtown Cleveland in general. But that doesn't matter. What matters is I was homebound. I decided to stop in Columbus, Ohio and visit The Ohio State University. At this point, I'd already accepted that I was going to get home at the crack of dawn, so I really wasn't in any rush. And I've heard legends about how huge this campus is and how there's a highway that runs through it and all kinds of stuff, so I had to go see it for myself. and I can confirm it is humongous. Basketball arena was humongous. The football stadium was humongous. They had like these big skyscrapers for like medical facilities, I guess, on campus. There was this one little strip that looked like downtown Columbus, but it was on campus. So yeah, I think it's safe to say that this campus is pretty big. I continued on, but then I needed gas, so I stopped at, you guessed it, yet another Love's. I also had to pee really badly. It was at this point in the day that I realized I hadn't peed since I woke up, and I also hadn't eaten in 9 hours. So I was like, yeah, I should probably take care of that. So I went to the bathroom, and as far as food goes, the Buc-ee's was coming up in like another hour. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wait till I get to Buc-ee's. So I drove another hour and got to the Buc-ee's. This time I actually got to look around the inside a little bit. And yeah, it's pretty nice. It's laid out pretty much the same as all the other Buc-ee's, but it's a cool place. It really is. I also got some snacks because I felt like I was going to need them. All right, my snack haul. I got another Southwest wrap because the first one was really good. I got some Swedish fish in case I get hungry. I got a big water bottle because I'm pretty thirsty. And also, I got an energy drink because I need some caffeine really bad. So I set off once again. Up until this point in the drive, I wasn't super tired, but at this point, it was starting to get me. I was running off caffeine and Jesus. The last like 4 hours specifically were just really, really hard. Probably because I was in the middle of nowhere for a lot of it, but I eventually did make it close to back home. I stopped at a gas station in West Point, Mississippi one last time just to refuel. And with that, I had made it home. All right. It is currently 4:24 in the morning. I just made it home. What a day and what a trip. Yeah, I'm going to go try to sleep for a few hours. Back to you in the studio, James. So now it's the moment you've all been waiting for, the stats of this trip. But before we do that, I want to give a score for everything as far as like the game day experience goes. Stadium. I liked it. It was a pretty good stadium. Nothing was super like jump off the page at me. And I don't like how I couldn't go back down after I went back up. I'd have to take the ramp again. I wasn't a fan of that. Just put another escalator in. I think that's a very simple fix. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I do like that I could see the skyline from my seat. That was pretty cool. Nothing super crazy, but I mean, it's a good stadium. Food. I was really surprised. I'm not going to lie. The chicken tenders were chicken tenders. They were fine. Fries were really good. I liked how they had all those different sauces, and just the concessions were so efficient. I was a big fan of that. So I'm going to give food an 8.5. I'm really surprised. And then the fans, I'm going to give them a 9. It blew me away how many people were tailgating and just how many people were at the game. I had no idea what to expect because, I mean, like I said, the Browns are terrible. And all the fans, opposing fans next to me were super nice. They were all, you know, really talkative, and it was really fun to be around those people. So yeah, I'm going to give the fans a 9 out of 10. So that gives the overall game experience an 8.17. Pretty good for, I mean, like I said, for a team that's just not very good. Cleveland's got a very good fan base, I have to say. And now to the stats. So Saturday morning, I left at about 9:50 a.m. I got back on Monday at about 4:24 a.m., which means that this trip in its entirety lasted 42 hours and 44 minutes. I spent 26 of those hours in the car. I traveled 1,743 miles. Wow. Just wow. All of that in 2 days is just insane. And as far as money goes, so I spent $135 on gas. I spent $64 on my game ticket. I spent $30 on parking. I spent a total of $59 on food. I spent $93 on that Airbnb, and I spent $85 on the oil change. All of that totaling $466. So yeah, I really enjoyed this trip. It was a really, really good time, even though I was going alone, and I really enjoyed vlogging it. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. It was a really fun experience. I don't regret it at all. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Jesus loves you. I love you. Just be sure to like this video if you like this kind of content. Subscribe if you're new. And anyways, I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.